In this segment, we want to talk about the Breathalyzer and the Breathalyzer test. Todd, are there reliability issues with these tests?
There certainly are, Gary. Now, of course, our state legislature has approved these particular machines for use, and so the government has kind of given its nod of complete approval and complete acceptance to them. And so most of the public and most of the court system generally buy into that position that the machines must be reliable because the government says they're okay. The reality is that the machine we use in West Virginia is a one-size-fits-all technology. It doesn't matter if it's you, me, anyone in our families, anyone that we know who's blowing into the machine. The machine believes that every one of us is physiologically identical. It can't distinguish between someone my size and, say, a young woman who's maybe 105 pounds. And so there are issues that do arise simply based on differing physiologies.
Todd, what are some of the other things that could go wrong with this test?
Now, Gary, this machine is nothing more than a computer, and most of us have experienced at some point a time at our computers when we're telling it to do one thing, it does something else that we didn't ask it to do, and it doesn't give us a warning window, it just goes off and does its own thing. This machine is capable of the same kind of performance. Yet again, the government doesn't want anyone to think that that's the case, but this machine is not in fact the end-all be-all. It can do things that are not expected and not print out a warning indicating that something went wrong. Now that's sometimes a very hard sell because there is such a total buy-in by the police and prosecution, and oftentimes the courts as well, that we have to overcome that. We have to be able to show them demonstrably that there is in fact an ability for this machine to do things that it was not asked to do. One of the key things that we try to do to show those problems is to get a copy of the download data. When these machines are used, every sample is sent electronically to a central holding base in Charleston. And there is a computer there that holds all that information. If we can gain access to that, then we have the ability to see where the machine may be doing things it wasn't designed to do, and it wasn't telling anyone that it was doing. It takes looking into the code behind the machine to fully understand what may or may not have happened.
How long do these tests typically take? Or do you find that some are shorter and some are longer?
Well, it depends on a number of factors, and again, one of those would be the ability of the individual to provide an adequate breath sample. These machines are set at a specific resistance setting, and the test subject, has to be able to blow hard enough and long enough in order for the machine to accept their breath sample. And if there's any problem whatsoever internally with those settings, well then the person could sit there and blow all day long and still never register a valid sample. So in the event that happens, it could be a very protracted process, and in some cases people are able to give a sample on the first try.
Are these machines out in the field? Does that have any effect in it?
Generally they are not, unless we're looking at a DUI sobriety checkpoint, in which case they have a mobile vehicle that's there with the machine inside to test anybody who is suspected of DUI that came through that checkpoint. But typically the machine that's used for evidential purposes in a DUI prosecution sits in a police barracks somewhere. They do have handheld units out in the field, but they are not the same device as what's in the barracks.